Imagine this. You're sitting at home on a quiet Sunday afternoon. You stand up from the sofa, suddenly feeling a little bit dizzy. Only lasts a few seconds. Now, most people would probably think, I got up too quickly. But an anxious mind tells a different story. What if it's something serious? And within minutes, you've noticed your heart beating, and you wonder if it's beating too fast. Now you're paying attention to every sensation in your body. Your breathing feels different. Your stomach might feel unsettled. Your arms feel a bit strange. And the more you notice, the more there seems to be. Now before long, you're reaching for your phone. You type in your symptoms. One search becomes another search. One article becomes 10. And some of them are reassuring. And some of them are terrifying. And by the end of the evening, you've convinced yourself that you might have missed something important. So if that sounds familiar, then this podcast is for you. So welcome to Understanding Anxiety with Neil Robson. I'm Neil Robson, a hypnotherapist at Faversham Hypnotherapy, where I work with both people online and here in Kent. I help people understand and overcome anxiety and panic and overthinking. Health anxiety is one of the most misunderstood forms of anxiety. People often think it's about worrying too much. Now, I don't see it that way. I think it's about a brain that's trying so hard to keep you safe that it starts paying attention to every possible sign of danger. And when the danger it's looking for is inside your body, life can then become a little bit exhausting. So here's something I'd like you to think about. As you sit listening to this podcast, your body is producing thousands of sensations. Your heart's beating, you're breathing, your lungs are expanding, your muscles are making tiny adjustments all the time. Your stomach's digesting food, your skin is sensing temperature changes. Now, normally your brain filters almost all of this out. If it didn't, you'd never be able to concentrate on anything. But anxiety changes that filter. And instead of ignoring those harmless sensations, it begins to shine a spotlight on them. And suddenly you're aware of your heartbeat. You begin to notice your breathing. You become aware of every little ache, every little twitch, every sensation in your body. And it's not because your body has suddenly changed in any way. It's just that your attention has been drawn to it. Have you ever bought a new car, then started seeing the same model everywhere? Those cars were always there. You simply began noticing them. Your brain decided they were important. And health anxiety works in a similar way. Once your brain decides your body needs watching, it starts to notice stuff. The difficulty is that noticing all these sensations, it doesn't mean there's suddenly something more wrong. It simply means your attention has changed. And that's where today's podcast really begins. So let's imagine something together. You're wearing a watch, and for most of the day you probably don't even notice it. Now, it's not gone anywhere, it's still there. Your brain simply decided it isn't important enough to keep bringing your attention to it. And now, without moving it, you become aware of it. You can begin to notice the weight on the wrist, the feeling of that strap against your skin. Perhaps you hadn't noticed it for hours, and it was there all along. Your body works in much the same way. Every second of every day, it's producing thousands of sensations. Your muscles twitch. You have changes in your breathing. Your heartbeat can speed up or slow down. And your stomach can make noises. You might have an itch, a brief feeling of dizziness when you stand up too quickly. And most of the time, your brain quietly filters all of that into the background. If it didn't, you'd never be able to focus on anything, a conversation, wouldn't be able to enjoy a meal, watch a telly. But when anxiety enters the picture, something changes. your brain starts to ask, what if I've missed something important? And suddenly your attention shifts inwards. You begin scanning your body, not once or twice, but pretty much all the time. And at first, you don't even realize you're doing it. You begin to notice your heartbeat, and a few moments later, you check it again. You become aware of your breathing. You wonder, does it feel different from a few moments ago? Then your shoulders, chest, stomach, your head, the more you look, the more you find. And it's not because your body has suddenly changed. Your attention has. Imagine walking into a room with a torch. Wherever you point the beam, that's what you notice. That's what you focus on. The rest of the room kind of fades into the background. You can't see it. Now, anxiety holds that torch. And when it points it at your body, every normal sensation suddenly seems brighter. Every change feels significant. And then something else begins to happen. You ask yourself, has that always been there? Have I always felt that? I don't remember noticing that before. What if it's the start of something? And those questions can create more anxiety. And anxiety changes your body. Your heart may beat a little faster now. Your breathing may become a little shallower or faster. Your muscles do tighten. The mouth can become dry, and you notice those changes. And they convince you that something must be wrong. And without realizing it, you've then entered the anxiety loop. You notice a sensation, you become worried, the worry creates more sensations, and those sensations seem to confirm the worry. Round and round it goes. So one of the most difficult parts of health anxiety is that the sensations are genuine. That's why people often feel misunderstood. Because someone might say, it's just anxiety. But the person is thinking it can't be, because I actually feel it. These symptoms are real. And they're right. They can feel real. They can feel it. The racing heart is real. The dizziness is real. The tight chest is real. That feeling in your stomach is real. The mistake isn't feeling the sensations. The mistake is believing that every sensation must mean danger. And think about what happens when you climb a flight of stairs. Your heart beats faster, your breathing changes, your legs may feel heavier. But none of those sensations are frightening because they make sense in that situation. So now imagine exactly the same sensations happening while you're sitting quietly watching the telly. Suddenly, they feel a bit alarming, not because the sensations are different, but because the story around them is different. And that's why context matters so much. Our brains don't just react to sensations, they react to what they believe those sensations mean. So once we understand that, something important begins to change. We stop asking, how do I get rid of every sensation? And begin asking, what meaning has my anxious mind attached to this feeling? That's a very different question. And it's one that opens the door to recovery. So, if health anxiety keeps pulling your attention back to your body, what can you do? So the first thing I'd like you to remember is this. Your body is not your enemy. In fact, it's been working tirelessly for you since the day you were born. Your heart has beaten millions of times without asking you to think about it. Your lungs have taken thousands of breaths every day. Your body is constantly adjusting, repairing, and responding to the world around you. And most of the time, it does all of that without you even noticing. And health anxiety changes that relationship. Instead of seeing your body as something to trust, it begins to see it as something that needs constant checking. And the more you check, the more uncertain you become. And that can surprise people. They think checking should make them feel more confident. But ask yourself this, has checking ever given you lasting peace of mind? Or has it simply made you feel better for a little while before the next doubt appeared? And for most people, it's the second one. And that's because every time you check for reassurance, your brain quietly learns another lesson. It learns that checking must have been necessary. Otherwise, why would you have done it? Now, without meaning to, you're teaching your brain that your body can't be trusted unless it's constantly monitored. And that's a heavy burden to carry. The good news is that the brain can learn something different. Not all at once, but one experience at a time. So let's imagine you notice your heart beating a little faster. Instead of immediately checking your pulse or searching online or asking someone for reassurance, take that pause. Take one slow breath and then ask yourself, is this a new piece of information? Or is this my anxious mind asking the same question again? And that one question can interrupt the cycle. It can stop the anxiety pathways firing. Not because it makes the anxiety disappear, but because it reminds you that you've been here before. Another thing I'd say is just notice where your attention is. Is it out in the world, or has it become trapped inside your body? So try something simple. Look around the room you're in. Can you notice 5 things you've never really paid attention to before? Perhaps it's a pattern on the curtains, the grain in a wooden table, the sound of a clock, the way the light comes through the window. You're not distracting yourself. You're reminding your brain that the world is bigger than the sensations it's become focused on. Attention is like a spotlight. Where you point it matters. If a spotlight stays fixed on your body all day, you'll naturally notice more and more sensations. If you gently widen that spotlight, your brain starts remembering that there's a whole world beyond the anxious thoughts. So one final thought before we finish. Think back to a time where you were completely absorbed in something you enjoyed. Might have been, gardening, walking a dog, watching telly, talking with a friend, reading a book. And during those moments, where was your attention? It probably wasn't fixed on your heartbeat or your breathing. Your body hadn't stopped producing sensations. Your brain had simply decided something else was more important. And that's an encouraging thought, because it tells your brain it already knows how to shift its attention. Health anxiety hasn't taken that ability away. It's just temporarily pointed it in the wrong direction. So as you finish today's episode, I'd like to leave you one question. If you trusted your body just a little more than you do today, what would you do differently this week? Would you stop checking that symptom? Would you go out for a walk? Would you spend less time searching online? Would you enjoy more of a day that's right in front of you? Recovery doesn't begin when every sensation disappears. Recovery begins when those sensations stop controlling your attention. So, thank you for listening today. I hope this episode has helped you understand a little bit more why health anxiety feels so convincing and why your body's normal sensations can become frightening when anxiety takes hold. If you've enjoyed today's episode, I'd really appreciate it if you followed the podcast and shared it with someone who might find it helpful. And for more practical help, you can listen to the other episodes of Understanding Anxiety with Neil Robson. And if you like one-to-one support, I work with clients online and from my practice at Faversham Hypnotherapy in Kent. So until next time, stay well.